Welcome, and thank you for your interest in the Grow Asia Hackathon 2019. This is our first time running a hackathon in Jakarta. We've run hackathons in Singapore last year, in Thailand earlier this year, and we're very excited to be here in Jakarta. And your turnout here validates that decision. It's wonderful to see your interest in helping smallholders thrive with data. Indonesia is shaping up to be a real mover and shaker in the ag tech scene in ASEAN. In fact, the recent statistics gathered by Padang indicate that Indonesia now has the largest number of ag tech startups in ASEAN. As Adam said, I'm the Director of Knowledge and Innovation at Grow Asia. Grow Asia is part of the World Economic Forum, and our job is to help smallholder farmers thrive, to help small rice, corn, palm oil farmers succeed and grow. We work with smallholder farmers for three reasons. Because at the gate of a smallholder farm is the solution to three important issues. And if I can just have the next slide, I can tell you all about them. So there are 71 million small farms in ASEAN. So this is not a small opportunity. We have an opportunity here to make a significant difference in the lives of 71 million families who live on a small farm. There are three things that we can do when we are working with a smallholder farmer. There are three issues, really important issues that we can address. The first is food security. 80% of your food here in Indonesia is grown on a small farm. While there are a few large farms in Indonesia, the vast bulk of the food that you eat is grown on a small farm. If Indonesia is going to be food secure, it's going to because it has profitable small farms. The next thing that happens when we work with a smallholder farmer is we mitigate deforestation. What's happening in Indonesia at the moment is the farmers are not making enough money from the land that they already have, so they expand over the forests in order to feed their family and educate their children. Farmers can feed their families, they can educate their children on the land that they have, but they have to have high yields and more productive farms. And finally, when we help a small farm become more productive and more profitable, we create an avenue out of poverty for the families that we work with. I began working with smallholder farmers 10 years ago now. I've traveled to Maluku, to NTT, right across Java and up and down Sumatra. I've met with farmers who grow rice, soy, mango, nutmeg, and cassava. When we talk to smallholder farmers right across Indonesia, we see four issues come up again and again and again. The first is farmers are looking to save on labor. The average age of a farmer in Indonesia every year goes up significantly. Often their children are seeking jobs and opportunities in the cities, and the cost of labor is going up and the availability of labor is going down. And as part of this hackathon, we're going to look at labor-saving technologies like smart irrigation and drones. Farmers are also looking for better access to markets. They're looking to have an opportunity to scan the market, see what the prices are, and meet multiple different buyers and strengthen their position in the market. Farmers are also looking for financing opportunities to buy fertilizers and crop protection products at the start of the season at an interest rate that they can afford. A lot of farmers here in Indonesia are paying anywhere between 40 and 100% interest rates over the cropping season for those basic inputs that they need. And as a result, they don't buy them. So they don't have the latest technology. They don't have the things that they need to succeed. And finally, farmers are looking to learn. What seed should I use? When should I plant it? What fertilizer should I use? When should I harvest? And what's really cool is that digital technologies can make a difference on all four of these issues. And the challenge statements that you'll be dealing with as teams in this hackathon relate to some of the most pressing issues on small farms in Indonesia. When I started working in smallholder agriculture, we had one tool for helping smallholders succeed, and that was the project. We went out to a rural area, we got some donor money together or some CSR funds, and we ran a project with 1,000 farmers, maybe 10,000 farmers. But what's really exciting is that now we have a range of digital tools available that can help us have impact at scale. We no longer need to run a project to help farmers with finance or learning and help a few lucky farmers. What we can do is we can actually talk about tools that are scalable that can reach millions of farmers. So with the advent of the mobile phone and increasing smartphone adoption in rural Indonesia, we don't need to run a project in one place. We can build a technology that can change an industry. And that's very much what we're here to do at the hackathon. There are 3 corporate partners backing this hackathon: Corteva, MUFG, and Ferrero. And they share this view. For these 3 companies, they see digital tools as an opportunity to address critical weaknesses in their value chain and help their customers and suppliers succeed. This hackathon is not a university assignment. You're not coming here for a little bit of fun. This is about making real difference against issues that really matter. And not only have we our sponsors put 180 million rupiah worth of prize money on the table for the hackathon, but you also have the opportunity to follow through on your idea. So if you present a compelling idea to us at the end of the hackathon, the 3 corporate partners have committed to take those ideas forward. So this is not an opportunity to just have a nice time, although a hackathon weekend is a lot of fun. It's also an opportunity to take your idea forward and make a real difference. If I can have the next slide, we'll go from there. All right. So at the start of the hackathon process, we sat down with the 3 corporate partners and we said, tell us about the most important challenges in your smallholder value chains, because you can't make a difference through the hackathon process unless you're addressing a problem that is real. So let me tell you about the first challenge. So the first challenge I'm going to read out is, how might we enable smallholder farmers to better plan and manage their cash flow? So what we've realized through our work with smallholder farmers is that they need to be able to manage their cash across the cropping season. And this is particularly important in rice. So farmers that succeed are able to manage their income and their expenditure across the cropping season to make the best financing decisions. And your goal as a hackathon team is to try and develop a new idea, a new way of helping farmers plan for their cash flow and make better decisions across the cropping season. If you're from a marketing background, if you're from a psychology background, this might be for the challenge for you. This is a very behavioral challenge. If you're invested in writing lots of code, one of the other challenges might be best for you. But if you're a people person, if you're interested in psychology, marketing, behavior, this is the challenge for you. This is an opportunity to sit down with a farmer. We're going to bring multiple farmers here into Jakarta for the hackathon. Sit with a farmer, understand how they think about their cash flow, and design a new tool that will allow them to manage their cash flow better. If I can grab the next slide. Actually, we might go back because I think there was 2 on the last. Sorry. The next challenge relates to financing. And as I said before, if a smallholder needs access to crop protection products or fertilizer or a tractor at the start of the season, often they need to take a loan to finance that. And the existing system has very, very high interest rates. And as a result, farmers are not using the inputs that they could be using. What this challenge does is it turns the question of financing around a little bit. And instead of saying, how can I as a bank lend money directly to a smallholder, because that's been tried, and there are some interesting technologies out there that allow that to happen. This says, how can I transform the role of existing intermediaries? So what this is saying is, how can I as a bank or a financier use retailers? So when we think about intermediaries, on the supply side to the farmer, you have a retailer who's supplying products, and then you have a trader who's buying from the farmer. How can I as a bank work together with those intermediaries to finance farmers? So instead of me just reaching out to the farmer, how can I work together with those intermediaries? And our corporate partners believe that this might be the kind of creative and slightly different thinking that's needed to finance smallholders at scale. So it's a partnership. How can I develop a partnership with the intermediary to improve access to finance? Okay, next slide. All right. We have two exciting technologies on the horizon for smallholder farmers in Indonesia. One is drones. And drones can be used in a lot of different ways, but one of the really exciting ways that they can be used is to spray pesticides and herbicides. Because when I'm spraying pesticides and herbicides myself, one, I put myself at risk because I might be breathing them in. Two, I might not be spraying very accurately. And three, it's not particularly good for the environment because I tend to use too many chemicals in the wrong space and use the wrong chemicals. So drones can be a great way to reduce those safety risks, reduce those environmental risks, and as I said before, reduce the labor cost on small farms. But we also have smart irrigation, which allows farmers to use sensors and other technology to irrigate their farm at the right time when the crop needs it. The important thing to remember if you want to take on this challenge is it's about business models, not about technology. So we're not asking you to design a new drone. We're not asking you to design a new irrigation system. What we're asking you to design is a business model that makes these technologies accessible to smallholder rice farmers in Indonesia. Last challenge. Okay. One of the things that's been happening for the last couple of years is a rising interest in what we call traceability. So farm companies, including chocolate companies and others, are trying to source the origin of the goods that they buy. And we'll be hearing from Ferrero in a moment about how they do that. But this challenge is about how do we use tagging technologies. So this is a really interesting technology that actually allows you to spray a DNA tag on, for example, a palm oil bunch and trace it through a value chain. But we're not limited to sprays. There's also lots of other tagging technologies. But it's about how would you build a business model around these tagging technologies that would work for smallholder farmers. I hope what you can see there is that these challenges are real. These are four challenges that need to be solved in order to help smallholders succeed, but also need to be solved by our corporate partners in order to improve the efficiency of their value chains. So this hackathon is an exciting opportunity for you to come up with a creative new approach to these challenges that not only will attract prize money, but also the opportunity to take your idea forward after the hackathon. Let's jump to the next slide. All right, let me just quickly take you through how things are going to come together. So applications are open now. You can jump on the growasiahackathon.com website and you can apply to be part of the hackathon. You'll need to form up a team, try and bring some diversity to your team so you've got a mix of skills that are relevant to that challenge. Applications will close on the 14th of June, so you've got about 3 weeks to put your application together. It's about a page of text, Adam? Yeah, it's not long, okay? Just a page of text. The hackathon will happen here in Jakarta over the weekend of the 29th and 30th of June. Now let me take you through what's going to happen on that weekend. We're going to give you access to a working space where you can spend the entire weekend building up your solution, but we're also going to give you access to farmers. So you'll have the opportunity to talk firsthand with farmers and understand their reality on the ground. So you design a solution that actually reflects those realities. We're going to provide you with subject matter experts. So if you've never worked in agriculture before, don't worry. We're going to bring in experts who understand finance, understand drones, understand all these other technologies, so that you can sit down with those subject matter experts and understand those technologies better. And finally, we'll provide some mentors to help you improve your solution. Following the hackathon, we will actually, the finals will happen on that weekend. Sorry, the Indonesian finals will happen on that weekend. Okay. So at the end of that weekend, of the 15 teams that take part in the hackathon, the judges will select 5 to go through to the finals. So 5 of you will travel to Singapore to compete against 5 Singapore teams in the final. And that final will happen on the 22nd of July. All right, next slide. All right, so the application template is available there. And if you've got any questions about the hackathon, you can also use that email address to ask any questions or submit your application. It's very straightforward. And what I'd encourage you to do is don't spend too much time trying to think about what your solution is going to look like. We're actually much more interested in getting good quality teams that have a mix of really interesting skills across the team than we are in you giving us a one-page example of a really worked through solution. Even if your solution's still a little bit kind of broad and you really want to wait till you meet the subject matter experts and the farmers to develop it, that's fine. We're looking for strong teams initially. All right, next slide. Okay, let me take you through the shortlisting criteria. What we'd ask you to do is show some understanding of the challenge. And we understand that not all of you are agricultural experts, but we need you to show that you've read the challenge statement and you've made some effort to understand what's behind the challenge and what a good solution would look like. You'll also need to present a concept, again, in a broad sense of how you'd like to solve that challenge. And finally, we'll be judging you as a team. We're going to be judging whether we feel that the mix of skills across the team are going to be able to give a successful hackathon solution. Next slide, please. So the program starts on the Friday the 29th. That is the Friday, isn't it? So on the Friday night, we're going to be joining together. We're going to come back, we're going to go over the challenge statements again. We're going to give you, we're going to have a panel today, but there'll be a second panel of subject matter experts. I just want to stress, we're going to support you through this process. If you haven't worked in this industry before, but you're a creative person with lots of ideas, please join in, because there's lots and lots of support available across the process. It's a Saturday. There's no Friday night with this one. Okay, terrific. Over the days of the hackathon, you'll have the opportunity to go through pitch practices. And then finally, all 15 teams here in Jakarta will have the opportunity to pitch their solution. You'll be given 4 minutes to pitch your solution. And then the judges will make a decision on 5 teams that will go through to the finals in Singapore. And we'll cover the cost of flying you to Singapore and accommodating you while you're there. In terms of the prize money, the total prize pool is worth 180 million rupiah, or if you're used to working in Singapore dollars, first prize of 10,000 Singapore dollars. So a significant cash prize. However, what I want to stress is the real opportunity for you, if you're an entrepreneur, if you're an innovator, if you're a startup, if you're a software engineer, the real opportunity is not just the prize money, but the opportunity to take your idea forward following the hackathon with one of our corporate partners. Fantastic. Look, again, thank you very much for coming and your interest in the hackathon. If you've got friends out there that want to be part of this, if you think this sounds like an exciting thing for your colleagues to get involved in, or one of your friends, please invite them. There is no requirement that people must have come here today in order to form up a hackathon team. So grab your family, grab your friends, form up a hackathon team, and please take part and submit your application. I mentioned before that I'm based in Singapore with Grow Asia, but we partner very closely with Pisagro here in Indonesia. And Pisagro is made up of some of the leading agribusinesses here in Indonesia who collaborate together to improve the lives of smallholder farmers. It's a collaboration of many of the leading agribusinesses that you'd be aware of, companies like Nestle, Indofoods, Cinemas, working together to create opportunities for smallholder farmers. And our next speaker is Pak Wisman from Nestle, who's also on the board of Pisagro, and I'll pass over to him. He's got loads of experience, come on up, Wisman, loads of experience in working with smallholder farmers, and I thought it would be fantastic to have him here to tell you a little bit more about the realities of working with smallholder farmers in Indonesia and some of the opportunities that you see in terms of the digital solutions and how they could make a real difference for smallholder farmers. Thank you, Wisman.
Thank you, Paul. Selamat sore, Bapak-bapak, Ibu-ibu. Okay, so I'm here from Pisagro. Yeah, Pisagro is Partnership for Sustainable Agriculture in Indonesia, and this was established in 2012 when the World Economic Forum taking place in Jakarta for the Asia. Today we have 11 working groups. The heart of this country partnership is really the working groups working on 10 commodities, looking for models for sustainable agriculture development. Yeah. So what we are doing is really driving the new vision for agriculture, which was defined in Davos at the World Economic Forum meetings. So what it says there, we really have to have different ways in terms of driving sustainable agriculture in preparation to feed almost 10 billion people by 2050. Yeah, so that is the driving force, and Pisagro is executing this in Indonesia. So we are working on models to develop sustainable agriculture. So what at the World Economic Forum and also Pisagro believe that sustainable agriculture must simultaneously address food security, environmental sustainability, and economic opportunity for farmers. Now this is where in Indonesia the economic opportunity for farmers is pretty bad. Yeah, our farmers, let's take coffee farmers where I'm working with 20,000 farmers typically. They have 1 hectare of land. They produce, I'll take even above the average of Indonesia, 1 ton per hectare. Yeah, so they are earning maximum $1,600 per year. Yeah, so if you divide that per month, it's only about $160 per month. Yeah, typically a household have 4 husband and wife and 2 child, and they're really at the poverty line. Yeah, these farmers are trapped into this situation because first, what happens typically in most our farmers, they have low productivity because of they are not using the right good plant materials or seed, yeah, which bring the low productivity. They are not applying the right agriculture, the right technology, good farming practices. They have access to markets is an issue. Now, even though if we have provided them with the training for good farming practices, they don't have the financial capacity to apply that. You know, with this less than 1.5 million income per family, they just have no financial capacity to invest on their farm, even to purchase the necessity inputs, fertilizers, for example. So they are stuck. Unless we help them, it's going to be like this. Yeah, productivity of all commodities in Indonesia is less than 50%. Coffee, average, according to the statistics, Bureau statistics, is only 740 kg per hectares. We could be at 2 tons per hectares. Yeah. Cocoa also, only 600 kg per hectares. Even palm oil. You know that I think about 60% of the palm oil produced in Indonesia coming from the independent smallholders, whose productivity only 1/3 of the big plantation. They can only produce 2 tons of palm oil per hectares, where big companies, big plantation can do 8 tons. So looking at it positively, we have huge opportunity to improve productivity, livelihood of our farmers. Yeah. So at Pisagro and also at the World Economic Forum, these 3 things has to be done simultaneously: productivity improvement, environmental sustainability, and hence also livelihood of the farmers. Now, Pisagro, the members of Pisagros are companies, agri-based companies, who believe that for us, like Nestle, for us to profitably, sustainably growth for the next 150 years, yeah, we need to have farmers that is also sustainable. Now, sustainability of supply of raw materials depend on if the farmers, if the son of farmers want to continue to be farming. But if farming is, farmers have a choice. The son of farmers have a choice. They can be doing ojek, yeah, they get 2-3 million per month. Yeah, if they work in the farm, they only get 1.5 million per month. So very soon we are going to lose farmers. And what happened? Companies like us will have no more raw materials to survive. Yeah. So it is in our interest to make farmers sustainable. So the issue on farmers sustainability and also income: first, plant materials, including seed; technology, where we can give training, yeah, and the use of the new technology of digital technology as an enabler that would make it possible for farmers to get access to finance, to get access to technology on how to use proper fertilizers, yeah, and then access to market. So plant materials, including seed; technology; access to finance; and access to market. Now on this, where the digital technology can reduce cost. For example, you know, Indonesian government have this KUR, that is government subsidized microfinance for farmers. Yeah, but if you look, to be honest, almost none of this subsidized credit reach individual farmers. Yeah, although the bank said, yeah, so many percent of the funding has been distributed, but mostly to traders, not to farmers. Why? Imagine farmers with income of 1.5 million or 15 million or 20 million a year. Yeah. If we try to give them loan more than 5 million or 10 million, we are trapping them into even more difficult situation. Yeah. But the basic need, first need, is really to purchase fertilizers. A hectare they would need about 5 million rupees. Now imagine a bank to reach these farmers, individual farmers, who would only borrow 5 million rupees. There's going to be costs. At least you have to collect the ID card, the marriage certificates, the land certificates, and a letter from the village saying that they do have land. Yeah, the cost of the bank to collect this data and other datas, yeah, that we can combine for the traceability, that would be around $30 to $50 per data. Yeah, if you do that, because the bank have to go to visit them and ask questions, collect this data, photocopying. Now this is where technology can help. Yeah, the digital technology can help. Of course, this has to be combined with other needs. And once you have this master data about farmers, This can be used by the bank. This can be used by fertilizers companies, input suppliers. Yeah. So this will reduce costs to recruit farmers who has need of this loan. Yeah. And then there are many other examples also. Okay, we also have example. We train farmers on financial literacy. In English sounds great, yeah, but basically it's really how you manage your income. Yeah. And then of course, training alone without a reality how they can really do this household financial management. We also give training on banking literacy. Yeah, of course we have to introduce banking to them. So what we did, we worked with one of the banks. I think it was BTPN. They have BTPN Wow, but other banks also have Laku Pandai. So then we have in Lampung, in our coffee program, 16,000 already have mobile banking account. Yeah, the warung in the village become the agent of the bank. Farmers just has to go there. They take their pictures, upload, ask them to do signature, they take a picture, upload, and then their phone number become the bank account. Yeah. Then we have to educate farmers how to use this mobile banking. Yeah. Eventually we can use this for payment of whatever crops we are buying from them directly. Yeah. And also there is also menu on this program that we teach them, okay, you create an envelope for education, create an envelope for the paceklik. Paceklik is where the farmers have no income. So this digital technology can be an enabler for farmers to learn on the cash flow management. Yeah, otherwise they are trapped borrowing money from the local lenders, which interest can be as high as 50%. Yeah, and then access to market. I'm so inspired by whether you have seen this Sayur box. Yeah, maybe this is something that we can also expand, where we have a market place, digital marketplace, where farmers can offer their products and there are buyers. Yeah, and this is something that also can be explored. Yeah, that will shorten the supply chain from farmers to the users, because in typical situation, farmers have to sell their products to village collectors, kecamatan collectors, and a lot of margin loss along these value chains. So digital technology can help here also. And we can also use digital for training, because I'm also at the board of the Cocoa Sustainability. We are working with the government for national curriculum on training farmers. Yeah, but when I look at it, it costs us so much. We bring extension workers from across Indonesia to Jakarta for 2 to 3 days training. It costs us billions. Yeah, and then there is a program that we are looking into. For example, maybe there are better other programs that you may be able to create. This Ruang Guru. Ruang Guru is an apps, yeah, that are used by primary school students. They can follow the curriculum there. They can practice and so on. We can also use this to train farmers. Maybe we'll bring down the cost of training farmers. Yeah, because today to train farmers would cost you around $60 per farmer. So this is where, if you have heard about certification, for example, if you want to sell cocoa, wood certified or rainforest certified, the buyers like us normally are willing to pay premium of $200 per ton. Where this money goes? $60 to do the training, because the wood certified requires proof of sustainable practices by the farmers that produce that product. We have to control the volume. We have to do the training of the farmers. This is where the traceability also comes in, yeah? Because others without digital help on traceability along the value chain, farmers can also cheat. If they produce only 800 kilograms of cocoa per year, yeah, if you don't have traceability, they may buy cocoa from other farmers and get this $20 to $100 premium. Yeah, so there is one example in our program in Sulawesi where one of the company here providing the digital traceability from farmers. So we know exactly if I buy cocoa, this is coming from which farmers. Yeah, and then each of these farmers have the quota. You know, if they only have 1 hectare, it's not possible for them to have more than 1 ton of cocoa. So each time they go to the supply chain, they have a unique ID card, can be QR code, and then this would be scanned by the collectors. So then you can know exactly how much more these farmers can sell these sustainable products. Yeah. Now this would be important in palm oil also. There are companies who insist that the palm oil that they are buying has nothing to do with deforestation. Now to prove that, you need to have traceability, and this can only be done. We have to do it with this technology, with this digital technology. Yeah. So there are many applications. Yeah, on this new technology for us to help small farmers, yeah, to get access to finance so that they can invest on their farm, they can invest on replanting, they can invest on inputs, yeah, so that they can increase their productivity. Then to that they can have income that would support the livelihood. So what's happening today, the cocoa farmers, they don't look after their farms because they have to make up their income by other activities. As a result, their plantations are left unattended and productivity are low. So really, this new technology must be used, yeah, to reduce costs, to help farmers improve their livelihood. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Pak Wisman. Now, it's my pleasure to introduce from Corteva, one of the world's great crop life protection companies, Bu Fei Ling, to give us to share with us their view and their participation in the hackathon. Fei Ling.
Thank you very much. Terima kasih semuanya. Selamat sore. Hopefully that you have still very high spirit even though you are still fasting, okay? Semoga tetap semangat walaupun bulan puasa ya. Okay. Okay. So today let's start. Okay. Something is wrong. Okay. Okay. Okay, so today I will present the slide with the title of Our Smallholder Farmer and Their Hopes. Okay, but before that, let me introduce myself. Adam already mentioned, so I'm from Corteva Agri-Science, Agriculture Division of Dow DuPont. I'm not quite sure whether some of you already heard about Corteva. Is that some of you already know Corteva? Okay, thank you very much. So at least some of you already. Okay, so actually, Corteva is a new company. Well, we never mentioned it's new because it's built by a merge of big company Dow and DuPont, right? So, yeah, okay. We always mention Dow and DuPont and Pioneer. So, 3 of them become Corteva. So, Corteva is already start merged in 2017, and by next month, in June, we will be a standalone company as Corteva Agri-Science. Okay, so today we will introduce what is smallholder farmer based on Corteva, right? So myself as a Corteva, I am in charge as market development. Okay, development leader for Indonesia. Okay, So actually in Corteva, smallholder farmer is our first customer. So smallholder farmer is very important for Corteva. So this is our first customer. So with them, then we do our activity. With them, we discuss. With them, then we guide them how to do their farming in right way. So Corteva not only sell pesticide, but we also work closely with the farmer. Okay. So I hope I just start this one. Okay, here. This is my exactly the same. You just mentioned for my 30 years working with this agriculture background. Yes. So actually, since I graduated from my university in Bogor, so directly I was in touch with a lot of farmer. So in 2018, so I get already with 300,000 farmer in Corteva. So in this year, we would like to increase this number of farmer. We now running the program, we call it Sahabat Corteva. So in this Sahabat program, so we guide them. We don't only sell the products. Okay. Yeah. Actually, this is only introduction. I'm quite sure that you can always have this information everywhere. Okay. So mention here, 49 millions of people. Okay. It's not okay. Involved in agriculture in Indonesia. It's being about 41% of Indonesian labor force. Okay? And 30% of Indonesian land is used for agriculture, mainly. But the first one is already mentioned for plantations. Now, let's see smallholder farmer for rice, mostly in Indonesia, okay, that we will talk about. And actually, our farmer program, our government program, have reached self-sufficiency in rice, chili, and salad since 2017. And then in 2019, our government would like to ensure that Indonesian farmer also will sustainability for garlic and sugar. But although like that, we still have a lot of challenge, you know? Okay, so still low farmer knowledge. Yes, when we talk with the smallholder farmer, so their knowledge is very low. And also the adoption capability for access for the new technology, like transplanter, harvester, even drone, is still very, very low compared to the other country. Compared to the other country in ASEAN, so Indonesia is still left behind. Okay? And also limited access to communication. So if you ask to one of our smallholder farmer, so they say, okay, their knowledge on the access of communication is very limited. Okay? They only have mobile phone only for calling. You know, even they don't know how to download the most important information. So mostly like that. Is that right? Yes. Yeah. You just can easily meet them and then ask. Okay. They sometimes, you know, their mobile is very old-fashioned. So how come? How come they, you know, they improve their knowledge? Okay. That is real. That is reality. Okay. And again here, come to the rice farmer in Indonesia. Okay, this is about 13 million hectare of rice in Indonesia. Here, I put the yellow color mostly, but again, this information you can always get everywhere. Okay, and government effort already now. The government already made to improve the irrigation, find a new variety. Okay, improvement on cultivation, pest management, all the program already available in Indonesia for our smallholder farmer. But again, still a lot of challenge, you know, persist of weather challenge, resistant pests, many things, production, you know, everything, still a lot of challenge. That's why today we are here. And again, Corteva, what is Corteva doing here? So Corteva works with this rice farmer side by side very closely to understand their needs, to provide good and effective solution to them, to increase their yield, okay? To increase their knowledge to protect their crops. And also, as Corteva, we also think about our product, it should be safe to themselves and also to environment. You can check of our products, or Corteva product, it always mostly with the green label. So, okay, so Corteva itself, actually I will explain you a little bit. Corteva is come from two words, core and teva. So core means heart, teva means nature. So almost of our products is all in green label. So because we really consider when we recommend to our farmer, so they have to take care of their safe and also the environment. Okay, so this is very important. So that's why today, okay, by partnering with external partners like all of you, we look to accelerate enriching our farmer life. Okay, that is our purpose of Corteva. Okay, continue. So here is actually our engagement with our sahabat. So till today, we have already running the program to get in touch with 2,000 farmers all over Indonesia. Yeah, 2,000 in 15 cities that we work together. We make a lot of fun, but we guide them how to run their farming in right way, in well maintained. Okay, this is about the activity, and then let's see deeply. Okay, what is look like our smallholder farmer in more detail. For example, I collect 3 of them. Let's see one by one here. This is only for example from what Corteva already do working together. For example, Pak Karim. This is the farmer that we meet from East Java. So he has 0.7 hectare of land. It's quite big, considered it's quite big. And then he mentioned here, so for him, family is very important. He was being a farmer when he was young because his father is also farmer. So for him, being an example of the farmer is very important. So he also looking for new technology. He is already quite rich in this population, but he always looking for new technology. And second one, Mr. Tajuddin, he is again here from Sulawesi. He is also belong to our program of Sahabat. Look at here. I learned farming since I was small. Till today, I am still learning, even though he is now 30 years old. I would like to increase my yield, he said, and then to control the pests and disease in my farm very well. So this is the idea, all the communication that we got from our farmer. The last one, even though we have a female farmer, we call it Ibu Hebat Corteva. Okay, so this is the example, Ibu Sumiati. She stay in West Java. She is the single mother, okay, with 2 children, and he always say, new technology. So he really looking for new technology in her farms. And support will enrich our life, not only for my family, but also for all of the farmers surrounding her. So this is 3 examples of our partnership with the smallholder farmer with Corteva. Okay, continue. Then again, when we learn about their pain, their need, always mention here, the unpredictable weather condition, farm input, which is always increased, including, fertilizer, pesticide, the price is always increased. So that is their issue, okay? Labor, sometimes they got labor shortage when they do harvest, okay? That is their pain. And they need to build knowledge on better farming method and management on financing. It's already mentioned from the previous presenter, I think. And also need to increase mechanization. So if you go to the field, so the mechanization of Indonesian farmer is very less. Okay, maybe for some of the farmer, they have already transplanter, but then you can count how many transplanter machine that Indonesian have. Okay, it's very small. Okay, and the last one, when we collect the information, okay, they also need to have better access to credit. Some of them, after they do harvest, okay, they got also loss of the money because they have to pay. Because they have to pay to the retailer. Because they have to pay the wholesales, even though they do harvest. So this is the issue of the smallholder farmer in Indonesia. Okay? Yeah, I think this is quite small, but you can go exactly the issue, the challenge from planting, growing, harvesting, and selling. That is the thing that facing by the smallholder farmer in Indonesia. Technology, credit, weather, okay, price, unstable price, and everything. So that's why it's very important to understand. That's why we are here today to discuss, to find the best solution for them. Okay. Okay. Yeah. I have a very short video. Yes. Please have. Is that? This video is about the farmer interview that Corteva done with them. Okay. Yeah. Hopefully that you got the sound. It's written in Bahasa. Right? So this is exactly real. What do they say? So we can learn. Right?
Harga-harga obat, pupuk.
This is Ibu Hebat.
Naik. Itu petani yang pertama tantangannya. Potong padinya berhenti. Ini di mesinnya nggak
So
jalan.
let's
Pendanaan.
listen.
Iya, pendanaan.
Here the sahabat.
Artinya begini. Ada misalnya dari rendang ke musim gadu ya. Itu mau dijual untuk operasional harganya murah. Akhirnya kita simpan dulu sementara modal nggak ada. Seperti itu.
Continue.
Paling harus tahu waktu sih, tepat waktu itu, cara pemupukan sama penyemprotan.
HP untuk komunikasi.
Sama kabar
Gabungan kelompok tani.
kelompok tani desa yang lain sih.
Ya. You always look for the information from Gapoktan.
Ya artinya
kelompok tani.
kita selektif aja. Nggak semua orang berbicara begini bisa diaplikasikan ke kita menjadi baik. Enggak. Artinya kita formulator saja, kita harus selektif lah gitu. Harus selektif. Dari formulator juga bisa dari tetangga atau tokoh tani juga.
Okay, financing issue. What
Dalam keluarga biasanya kebutuhan anak
what
sih yang kuliah.
do they say?
Biasanya pas harga lagi murah, tadinya
Low.
anak kosan habis, misalkan kontrakan. Terus semesteran harus bayar langsung. Nah,
See?
itu.
This is the issue.
Kita itu sekarang tuh tanahnya udah tergerus.
See? Farming
Ya
is reduced.
oleh pabrik-pabrik.
Some factory.
Saking menyempit lahan gitu. Ya otomatis si harga lahan meningkat drastis.
More expensive. Yeah. Goal and ambitions. What is their goal and ambition?
Saya bisa mengantarkan anak-anak saya ke jenjang pendidikan yang lebih tinggi, bisa sukses, bisa menghidupi dirinya masing-masing aja.
Nggak ada ya? Kenapa, Bu?
Bahkan kalau bisa mah bisa nambah.
They always
Ya,
dream
nanti
to
bisa
have more
ngawasi lagi.
land. Where in the
Anak,
fact
cucu.
our
Ya,
farming
kalau
is reduced and reduced.
Petani kan tidak ada pensiunnya. Ya kalau bisa memperluas lahan bukan untuk dijual.
Okay, that is all from Corteva. If you have questions, later on. Okay, thank you very much and keep high spirit. Thank you. Yes, Adam.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Fei Ling. And Fei Ling's slides, if you haven't seen them already, are available on the website, along with many other resources, which I would encourage you to download, and we'll be uploading other information. So there's a lot of information on the website. All the challenges are there, all the dates, just reminding you everything's there. So now Paul's coming back to the stage to host the panel. And on Paul's panel, I'd now like to invite up our panelists where they're hiding. Matsuo-san from MUFG, Mike from Corteva, she's going to come, and Deepak from Ferrero. If you'd like to come to the stage, and I'm going to put you in Paul's very capable hands to ask you some questions, and then folks, we'll be asking you to ask some questions. I know there's been quite a lot of download, and we want to give you the opportunity to ask questions as well. So, do we have another couple of microphones? Oh, okay, water.
Thanks, Adam. Please have a seat, guys. That was really interesting to hear from across the speakers. Those issues come up again and again around finance, around learning, around access to markets. It doesn't matter whether you're coming from the perspective of an NGO like me, or from a major buyer, or from a major provider of inputs. You see those issues coming up again and again around smallholder agriculture in Indonesia. And this hackathon is really about getting to the root of those problems, understanding them, and building scalable digital solutions that can solve them. So thank you to our speakers. So I'm going to ask each of our panelists to introduce themselves and tell us why you're involved in the hackathon. What excites you about being involved in this process? And I'm going to ask Deepak from Ferrero to kick things off.
Thanks, Paul. It's great to be here with everyone today. I'm Deepak from Ferrero. I'm part of our open innovation team, where we try to look outside for solutions with significant potential to unlock value, be it in sourcing ingredients, be it in manufacturing new products, or being it in our supply chain or consumer-facing environments. So why am I excited to be here? Is because this event philosophically relates with the way our team works, which is we form collaborations with an open-ended view to understand long-term challenges and look for partnerships, be it enabling partnerships like the one you see today with different stakeholders, or partnerships with startups, innovators, entrepreneurs, to help us solve some challenges which might be outside our core strengths. So that's why I'm excited and look forward to a great session. Thanks.
And Matsu, tell us a little bit about MUFG and why you're here.
Hi, everyone. Okay, hi, I'm from Matsuo Soichiro from MUFG. You may not know about MUFG, but MUFG is actually one of the world's biggest financial institution in the world from Japan. But we are now expanding our role into Southeast Asia. Well, actually, we are start collaborating with partner banks in Southeast Asia. One example is Bank Danamon in Indonesia. Yeah, I'm from a digital transformation division in MUFG. This division is in charge of actual innovation, but contradictory, banks are very far from innovation actually. So we need a partner to innovate. Not from internally, both from internally and externally. That's why we participated as a sponsor in this hackathon, and hope to find a great partner to change our bank. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mike, tell us a bit about Corteva and what excites you about being involved in this hackathon.
Okay, hi, my name is Mike Fontanosa, and I'm from the same organization that Buffet came from, so Corteva. I think for Corteva, being a company, our vision is really about enriching the lives of those who produce and those who consume, ensuring progress for generations to come. And in that respect, it's also like just zeroing in on enriching lives and building together. So the same way that Deepak mentioned about innovation and collaboration, we're really into that space where we've been in the business for quite a long time. Dow, DuPont, Pioneer have like years of history. But the needs of the farmers evolve, and in such a way we would like to get a different perspective about things, and this is where we would like to mine the diversity of the people here. So first and foremost, we'd like to thank everyone for coming, And we do hope that you participate because we would be really interested in finding sustainable solutions for these pain points for the farmers. As you can see, we can give you stats, yeah? But if you look at the farmer persona, there are stories behind those statistics. Those are real life issues and they're real life concerns that we really need to address because then it impacts us as consumers. I mean, does everyone eat rice in this room? Show of hands. Yeah, everyone eats rice. Who likes chocolates? Even more hands. So if you don't have farmers producing those, then ultimately it impacts us personally. But at the same time, it's also making a difference in the lives of those farmers.
Thank you. Isn't it great to have a confectionery company, a bank, and a crop protection company all working together on innovation? And it was really exciting as we put the challenge statements together that all three companies could see very similar issues in smallholder value chains and agree on such a great set of challenges to work on together and really open up innovation, as all three of them have said, beyond their silo, beyond their organization, reaching out to you, reaching out to the broader community to innovate and come up with some new ideas. I'm going to work through each of the challenge statements now and get some comment from the event partners on the challenge statements. And Deepak, I want to go to you first and ask about traceability and particularly tagging. What interests you in tagging? Why are you looking for these fine people here to come up with new ideas around tagging?
Great, thanks, Paul. So just a bit of context on traceability, and I'll make a specific reference to palm oil because in the region, this is one of our largest sourcing footprints. So palm for Ferrero is a core raw material which goes into more than 80% of our portfolio. So if you eat Ferrero Rocher, if you eat Nutella, Kinder Chocolate, you are probably eating a lot of palm when you eat each of these tasty products. So in palm, Ferrero has been leading the way with other big major companies in traceable supply and sourcing of palm. So we are part of the RSPO roundtable, which is responsible sourcing of palm, but we've also gone beyond RSPO to understand how we can innovate to add on the great work that's been done as an ecosystem. So a large part of our supply chain is what's called segregated palm, where we know very well our traceability back to the plantation and even to the mill where the fruit is getting processed. So to just give you some stats, our traceability to the mills are 100% today, and to the plantations are close to 99%. But the interesting thing to note is we are certifying players such as the farmer, the refinery, the mill, the processor through RSPO, and the transactions through digital platforms like PalmTrace. But what we realized when we looked at what is the significant unmet need is what we call first mile traceability. That is, today there is not a way to validate if a farmer can claim that this is his actual physical product that is getting sold and eventually mixed with the produce from other farmers or other producers that ends up in mills and then in refineries that someone like a Ferrero comes and buys. Now, why is this important? It's because we have to help the farmer to better understand his crop inputs, he manages finance, and all the other great things that we heard a while ago. And why is that important for Ferrero is because we need to understand who is it that we are buying from. And like Maria said, these are real people with livelihood challenges. And we'd like to work with our supply chain partners to help these farmers to better grow, manage their farm so that they can give high quality and sustainable palm for brands like Ferrero. Now, this is where the tagging as a concept came to our mind. Now, think of this as a QR code for a physical product, where the QR code is not a label, but it's part of the product. So we have been looking at external technologies, like I said in my introduction, where we see a lot of new startups are looking at DNA or other physical tags as a way to mix them in edible food. So this food can actually be traced from the farm to the mill and to the refinery, where using some technology, you can actually scan the presence of the tags that says this produce comes from a farmer A in a given country, in a given region, and then it's been coming through this supply chain. So this is the value that we see that can not only inform sustainability, but in turn become an enabler for the farmer to get access to the right input, right finance, and so on. So this is where we see the opportunity. And again, I'd like to emphasize that we are not just focused on tagging. if the great entrepreneurs and innovators in the room think there is a better way to do this, we are all eyes and ears for you guys to hear from you. Thanks.
Fantastic. You've heard it. Ferrero can trace back to the mill, they can trace back to a plantation, but how do they get traced back to that first mile, back to the smallholder farmer, and work out the origin of the products that they're buying and all the opportunities that hangs off the back of being able to collect that data. So already, I hope you're thinking of some creative ideas for tagging and tracing the first mile. Mike, I'm going to jump over to you next. To ask about cash flow, because as soon as we organized the hackathon, Corteva came to us and said, we really want to help farmers with their cash flow and their management of cash across the cropping season. Why is that problem? Why has that challenge come to you front and center? Why is that so important to Corteva?
I think because what we've come to realize with smallholder farmers, they're essentially farming families, yeah? And so they see their farm as a way to sustain their family and their needs. But then what has been happening is that at the front end, you have banks that are giving out loans. And sometimes, like I think Pa Jaja mentioned that, there are loans and they don't even reach the farmers. It's not just a question of access, it's also a question of what do you do with that money. Because then what we've also come to realize is that if you look at the household as an enterprise, some of the people, the decision makers that you would see, the man of the house would probably be in charge of like, okay, what do we do with, do we mechanize, what do we plant? But the women of the household generally hold the budget. So they're the CFO. So basically, they're trying to juggle how much money I have for my household expense and how much do I put into my farming operations. So when we were looking at the challenge, it doesn't just fit that we give them, here's the money, now go ahead and do something with it, but we have to teach them basically what you can do with the money so that it gets a return on investment. Because then it's also like, what do you have in terms of being able to invest back into your farming business for not just for the here and now, but also for the future. And that's where we see the sustainability part, because what we've also been seeing, like just a little anecdote, is that a lot of youngsters don't want to be in farming. So we had an event in one of the places in Karawang with a buffet, and we invited like 12 farmer children who are part of a farming family. So we asked everyone, who wants to be a farmer? No one wants to be a farmer. One child actually said, I want to be a YouTuber. So then I'm thinking, okay, I mean, how could that be? Because then if everyone leaves the farm, then who will mind it? Yeah. And because then families are seeing that it's not a viable source of income, they sort of like have a different goal and ambition for their kids. It's like, okay, go ahead, be a doctor, be a nurse, be a med tech, go abroad. And so this is where we see the sustainability question that like springs out from the challenge. And that's why we're saying that the financing aspect should be taken holistically. Plus, there's also some cultural ramifications of getting those loans in place and being able to use that in terms of where they would invest in.
What an interesting challenge to think about how we develop a solution that takes into account the role of men and women in the household expenses, business expenses, effective interest rates, loan options. It's a really multifaceted challenge, but one that's really important to answer. Batsu, tell us a little bit about the challenge around finance, and particularly partnering with intermediaries to help farmers get access to loans.
Yeah, as Maria shared, thanks to digital transformation or kind of iPhone or Mac, some smartphone, we can get maybe enough data from farmers or remote area guides. But still, we especially financial institutions, need to collaborate with local agent because it's very bad to say, but people are sometimes not trustable. We financial institution, we are actually regulated from the government, so we need to keep the rule from the government, and we yeah, we'd like to provide finance to all financial institutions would like to provide finance to farmers or remote area guys, but we cannot monitor them. That's why we need some support from a local agent. So, for example, now existing system, local agent give credit to farmers a little bit high risk. Yeah, but using data transformation and collaborating with a big entity, so local agent can provide a better loan to them, and that will be also beneficial to the banks or maybe the the input provider company, also the supply chain guys, mills or FMCGs, they may get profit. So collaboration with a local entity, especially intermediaries, a local finance guy, can create a better local ecosystem and a better, promising local economy in the future. So that's what the finance institution want to do. So that's very important to everything.
Fantastic. And given the challenge of helping farmers access finance, it's great to have a bank on board so committed to resolving how to reach farmers with finance. Mike, I'm going to jump over to you for the last challenge and ask you to comment on drones particularly, and where do you see the promise of drones in the smallholder segment?
So basically, we've seen a lot of drone application and case use particularly in China, where it's not just in how they apply chemicals and how to apply it more efficiently, but it's also being used for diagnostics. So they take a picture of basically the land, and they would be able to say, okay, this particular patch of land may have like some type of disease, and they'd be able to go back and say, this is the kind of package of technology that is required. And if we're looking into really making efficient use of farming operations and inputs, I think drone has real good potential in ASEAN. I think the question is not the technology, it's a question of how we deliver that technology to smallholder farmers. Because admittedly, when you look into some of these technologies which are more geared towards farming size of scale, like let's say plantations, it's really intuitive, right? But when you look into smallholder farmers, it's how do you make sure that it's inclusion? It's about giving them access. And it's not just with drones, because I think interestingly enough, we also said about smart irrigation. With climate change wreaking havoc on, like let's say, groundwater supply or basically what you have in the dams, it really gives a lot of challenge for the farmers, because let me just give you a statistic. Rice, 1 kg of rice makes use of about 2,500 liters of water, which is by far one of the crops that has the highest use of water compared to even corn and barley. So if we're like looking into all of these weather challenges that we face, smart irrigation is there. It's been there for quite some time. But it's how do you get the smallholder farmer access to that? So it's a question of that business model that makes it sustainable. And it's all about inclusion. I think if I were to look into all our challenge questions, it's all about inclusion. Whether it's at the financing level, whether it's at, let's say, market access in the case of Ferrero, or whether it's in the case of technology that can improve on farming operations. So if we were to really look into that, I think the highlight for that second challenge is really about business model. How do you make it sustainable? How do you make it to scale? And how does it fit within that entire ecosystem that the farmer operates in?
And that's a great summary of what the judges are going to be looking for at the end of the hackathon, is those teams that have really thought through a workable business model, something that can make money, something that's scalable and sustainable. And two fantastic technologies, drones and smart irrigation. And how do you turn these into technologies that are inclusive and accessible by smallholders? Fantastic. Look, I'm going to open the floor in a moment to questions from you. I realize many of you are probably quite keen to break your fast. soon. So there will be an opportunity after the event. If you haven't had the chance to ask a question to the panel, come and ask somebody with a red lanyard. And you can ask us any questions about how the event works and the challenges and how you can get involved and how you can apply. But before I open the questions to the floor, I want to come back to the panel for a moment, because you've all put each of your companies has put these challenges down to these wonderful innovators in front of us, and you've put them down because they're very real challenges that need solving. For those teams that come through with a really strong solution, something that meets your needs, how would you like to work with these people in taking these ideas forward after the hackathon? Deepak, I'll go to you first.
Thanks, Paul. So, as I mentioned before, our vision is to work with innovators to bring in new concepts that we'd like to try and test. So typically what we do is, even if we find a startup with a ready solution, or in this case, where we're looking for new ideas to eventually test, we will actually facilitate a proof of concept where we fund the proof of concept and we provide the necessary support. I think in this panel, you will find that it's a fairly integrated set of stakeholders who might be willing to come together with the right finance, right crop inputs to enable the right sustainable production. But in other cases where you need know-how from different sectors, we work with our business partners or our current supply chain partners to enable that knowledge to the startup so they can focus their efforts and the solution on the right pain points so that we can really test the value proposition or the fit of the technology to the challenge at hand and make assessments at the end of proof of concept. If the idea does deliver on those challenges, then we will usually try to scale the idea, again through collaborations, either internally or externally. And as a matter of fact, we have more than 20 such projects in the last couple of years across the breadth of scientific disciplines, all focusing on how we source raw materials, how we process raw materials, or how do we make new products. So quite excited to work with all of you on both the hackathon and what might come after. And if I may make a point, Paul, maybe to steal a thunder from him, is that although there are going to be pre-finalists and finalists, there would be some interesting ideas in the mix of things, and we would be keen and open to explore some of them even outside those pre-finalists or finalists. So I think there is plenty of opportunity here to expand our thoughts and work together.
Fantastic. So the opportunity of a proof of concept with Ferrero, and then the opportunity to scale up from there. Even if you're not amongst the winning team, if you come up with an idea that is of interest to Ferrero, relevant to the company, some really interesting opportunities there. Matsu, tell us a little bit about MUFG.
Actually, MUFG are working, our team, MUFG Digital Transformation team, is working like as a startups. Actually, we are creating some new business model in this region and trying to go into pilots soon. So yeah, actually, we cannot provide support to startup. Actually, we want to collaborate with startups. So if startups features a good idea in this hackathon, we surely want to collaborate with them and would like to start a quickly pilot together with them. Then we have some IT startup supporter. So yeah, that may help them to create a IT system also. Yeah. Then yeah. So via collaboration with MUFG, I think the companies or team can create a new innovation system very quickly. So yeah. Also, banks have some trust, so it's very easy to go talk and collaborate with other company in this region.
Fantastic. So there we have it, a bank with operations right across Asia in a position to help you pilot your technology, and not just pilot, but provide technical support to make it real. Mike, tell us about Corteva.
Okay, so at Corteva, we've invested in an AgTech division. You'll probably, if you do participate, you'll meet him at the Hackathon weekend. His name is Martin Hogberg. And so, in a sense, if there are interesting solutions that can be taken forward, whether they're strategically aligned to what we also foresee, and the solution is farmer-centric and can be really scaled and can be sustained, then we would be interested in taking that proof of concept forward and being able to perhaps fund initially and also provide subject matter expertise. And so my colleague Martin is actually on the lookout for those types of solutions that we can take forward. And he's really based in APAC and really focusing on ASEAN. So there is a large appetite for some of these solutions to be commercialized as well.
And there you have Corteva with a specific staff member set aside in Singapore to scout for and pilot technologies with startups. So thank you very much, Mike. Now I will open to questions from the floor. If you have any questions for our panel of partners here.
Hi, my name is Indra. I'm a third generation of farmer for my family. I would like to ask about, it's more like into social problems for Corteva. Nowadays, my family is facing is getting more difficult to find an honest farmer. So, how Corteva handled those kind of situations? Have you ever been found farmers that not honest? And yeah, and related to MUFG, you said also that it's getting difficult to find honesty in farmers. Farmers are not trustworthy in overall. Yeah, and how you verify the data that came from the farmers? How do MUFG verify the data? So yeah, thank you.
So let me clarify the question that you asked us. So from a social challenge, like how do we deal with like dishonest farmers? Yeah. I mean, I think fortunately we haven't had that big of a challenge in that sense, but I think we pointed out to also our Sahabat Corteva farmers. So these farmers are generally well known in their village. They're like opinion leaders. They're well respected, and so when we do work with Sahabat Corteva farmers and who eventually also work with like some of these fellow farmers where we try to educate them, they basically know each other. And so if you're in a village, right, that sort of diminishes the propensity for people to like be dishonest. Hey, he's my neighbor, yeah, he can easily report me, yeah. So I think in a sense having that network sort of mitigates any of that, and we don't really see much of it. So fortunately, we've been quite lucky in that sense, but I think the Sahabat Corteva farmers have been really helpful in sort of negotiating or navigating those dynamics in the village, and they're also probably a deterrent to that.
Thank you.
From so bank's point of views, I mean so we necessarily, I mean, we don't. I mean, it's not true. We don't trust farmers. I mean, we wanna trust farmers, but we need to monitor them. Yeah. Anyway, we need to monitor them sometime. So, yeah, we can verify by data, but anyway, and also, but just to verify by data is not enough because we are very far from farmers. So financial institutions sometimes need a local partner who check or need to form up the group inside the small town or villages. So they know, so because they are borrowing from the financial institutions, so they can monitor each other, and if they are not trustable, it will affect other person's, lending situation. So yeah, I mean, that kind of scenario we can think about it, but we need to find a good solution with local people.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, can I just add a brief comment? I'd love to answer to a farmer's question, given that we are speaking about farmers. So I'd like to turn it around and say, how would you reward farmers who are being honest, right? And that's where we saw the tagging as one way where he's doing all the right things, he's following the right good agricultural practice, sustainable methods of cultivating and growing, and maybe he can use the tag as a way to say, this is my produce, and he gets identified and rewarded, either financially or through information. And I think this is where we see as one opportunity for technology to come in and enable, but also reward those farmers who are doing the right things.
We have time for one or two more questions.
Yeah, good evening. Anyway, actually still confusing with the idea helping farmer thrive with the data, because Indonesia is so large area from Aceh to Papua. So if you're talking about the farmer, if we see in the geographic area, one area to another area, it could be different result. Let's say if you wanna palm oil, it could be in Kalimantan. If you need like a rice field, it's good in Bogor area or in Bandung area. If you need, let's say, tomato, chili, rice, what you need actually, what the area that you are going to build, what the area that you are going, I mean the farmer. When I see in this video that a lot of a problem that we found it, like we have a problem with financial, we have the problem with the technology, we have a problem for fertilizer and marketing, and especially in marketing a problem. What I want to know, what exactly that you want to, which group that you want to address, what you need it. You need the rice field, or you need the palm oil, or what you need it, that I still confusing with. Thank you.
Fantastic. I might take that one first, and maybe if any of you want to comment. With regard to the two financing challenges as well as the cash flow challenge, we will ask you to provide the solutions for rice farmers, and we will, courtesy of our friends at Corteva, we will provide you with particular personas. So you might have seen those farmer personas up on the board there, which give details of the actual farmer and their financial position, their family. So for those three challenges, we will ask you to assume that the farmer is a rice farmer, and we'll give you some data, but it'll probably be about half a hectare to a hectare worth of land. And in the case of the tagging challenge, we will ask you to focus on palm oil. And again, we'll give you some information about palm oil farmers. Some of you might come to us and say, look, we want to take these challenges in a slightly different direction towards a slightly different group, and that's fine. We can work with you on that. But if you want a starting point, then I would start with a rice farmer for the first three challenges, and with a palm oil farmer for the purposes of tagging, with some freedom to move away from that if you've got a great idea that takes it a little bit outside of that. That's fine. Good question. Thank you. Any comments from the rest of the panel on that one?
No, it's a great question, because you made the point about thinking about the real ground needs that might be different for each crop and the region in consideration. So I think those are key learning points that the teams that are trying to propose solutions should be able to think about as what am I really solving for as it applies to a region or a crop or the business practice within those crops. I think that's a key learning that one would try to hopefully receive from the pre-read materials on the website, as we have tried to provide, or you can simply ask us on the 2-day hackathon weekend that we're all here to address those questions in a way to help you help us.
I think for the rice farmers, if you've seen Buffet's presentation a while back, it gives you a very targeted location of where these rice farmers are. So since we've already scoped it, maybe it's also worth understanding what's the financing landscape in those general areas. Because then if you look at financing and sources of funds, it could come from more formal structures, like let's say banks, or it could come from let's say informal structures, like let's say informal lenders. Could come from big landowners who also finance. It could come from even their own family members who are working abroad and providing remittances. So make use of all the data that's available, and like Deepak has mentioned, we're there on the hackathon weekend, and subject matter experts will be provided so that you'd be able to ask questions to specifically narrow down the solution that it can be tested on rice. And I think for them, palm.
The other thing worth saying is that over the hackathon weekends, we will have farmers travel from Java and Sumatra to Jakarta to meet with you and spend time with you over that weekend, giving you suggestions and ideas and feedback, and helping you really design a solution for those farmers. So you'll have the personas as well as actual farmers here over the hackathon weekend. I think we might have time for one more, Adam. Maybe not. If it's short. As I said before, if you don't get your question in now, but you do have other questions, grab somebody with a red lanyard.
Hello. I'd like to ask some questions to give me more insights about the problem about the farmers, because my father is a farmer. Honestly, I don't know the problems that my father challenged, so that's why I'm coming today to this launch workshop. So my first question will be for Ferrero. So when we're talking about the palm oil industry, I think the biggest challenge is that the owner of the corporates and the conglomerates from this industry is very huge, and there are a lot of problems when we're talking about the environmental, and also the problem with the farmer itself. They don't get enough paid. There are also like human trafficking and etc. in terms of the palm oil industry. So I think I kind of like want to know more is when we are trying to provide solution of the palm oil industry, is there any kind of consideration from Ferrero? How do we think to include the corporate who are the biggest player in this industry? And that's the first question. And what kind of some important element when we're talking about the good quality that you are mentioning about how do you track the good quality? What are some elements that you are considering from the farmers to the company itself in terms of the palm oil? Thank you.
Okay, terrific.
Great, thanks for the questions. So to start with the first question, how would we enable us independent farmer to be able to play at the same level as a big company? I think that's the question, right? So I guess that's where certification for sustainability has been a significant opportunity on one side, but also a complexity. For example, the certification system works in a certain way that sometimes might not be possible for a smallholder to provide for getting himself certified, because a certified produce commands a higher price on the market, which goes back to the fact that he can make more money in a certain way if he's able to demonstrate he is complying to a globally acknowledged set of practices that talk about cultivation, management, and production. So I think that's the first possibility for a smallholder to be able to demonstrate he's doing the right things. And again, that's the reason why we said the tagging goes directly onto the produce, so we can actually validate that this farmer's produce is this 2 tons, let's say, which ends up in my mill that my supplier then sells to Ferrero, for example. So this is a way for us to enable the smallholders to start entering the large market share. I think that was the first question. And on the second question, what is good quality in palm? I think the one that I'm more familiar with, I'll probably share, but maybe Paul or if Pak Wisman want to add perhaps, is that in palm, from the time to harvest to time to processing, there is a 24-hour sort of optimal window. So from harvest, within 1 day, the fruit has to be processed and the oil has to be extracted. So the tagging can potentially be a way to encode information on location and time of harvest. So when you read the tag in the mill, you know the place and the time of harvest, so you can better control quality. Again, quality commands a higher price in the market, and if you can add that to sustainability as well, you get a premium price, which is I think at least a couple of $100 per ton higher than the conventional palm price. So I think on both those points, the smallholder will be enabled to get better value for his effort, if that addressed the question.
Fantastic, thanks for your question. And just to follow, just a quick comment on that. If you're aware of other issues in smallholder value chains, or you're doing your research and you find other issues, don't feel that your solution has to solve all of the problems. So it should be mindful of other actors in the value chain, the realities on the ground, but you only have to solve the challenge that you're given. So focus on that, try and create a solution to that. You don't have to necessarily develop a solution to all of the different issues in these value chains, because they are super complex. Thank you very much for coming today and for joining us and for your interest in the hackathon. I hope that you apply to take part and look forward to seeing you in a few weeks' time.